March 21st.
It's February.
Oh, yeah. February 21st. That is today.
Happy birthday to my mom.
Oh, it is.
It is.
Kathy's birthday.
It is.
At least she's not having to work on her birthday.
That's right. It's Sunday.
Yep. So
But you're not here to...
Oh, wow.
Wait.
This is magical. We have just transported through time. I am in Texas, but I'm here.
Oh.
Wow. Not only are we in the same clothes from last week,
but we're in March 21st and you're in Texas. But you're in Tennessee. This is how this is going.
So last week, we talked about, really the first year on the FLW tour, kind of what that was like. That was my debut, you could say, really as a professional. Yeah. So.
And was pregnant with Abby half the year, her in June.
Yeah.
And thankfully, of course, like as fishermen, when you have kids, like you try to get pregnant and have birthdays in September, October, November, December. Really October, November, December. That's
ideally
typically your off season. But of course, God's plan. June, right in the middle of fishing season. Thankfully, my doctor was awesome, and he was like, as long as your body's good, we can induce. Because I was like, listen, if I don't have her by this date, he's going to be gone the next 2 weeks. And and obviously I didn't want him gone while giving birth. So everything went as planned, and we were able to be induced and had her on the 5th. So
the verse kind of on this week, the one that we looked up, and you'll understand more as this goes along, but it's James 1, 2 and 3. And consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So that's the verse. So we bought a camper from our neighbor.
Yep. It was Coachman, wasn't it?
Coachman, yeah. Yep. So we bought that. I mean,
it was a fifth wheel. It was very cheaply. We bought it, and we're like, we just had Abby and our dogs. We traveled with them some, and so we were excited.
Yeah. The early part of this year was the first year Jennie had traveled full time. We'd rented houses everywhere. People we knew on tour traveled with campers. I had camped in a van some, but our neighbor had that used fifth wheel. They were trying to sell it. It was, I think we paid $10,000 for it.
I don't even think we paid that much for it.
Might have been $8,000.
I think it was like $6,500.
It might have been, yeah. It wasn't a lot for a camper.
Not for a camper.
A 28-foot fifth wheel. We got a hitch welded on the back of it, so we could double pull with it. So that way, we
didn't have to both drive with Abby being an infant and obviously our first. And we did some remodeling to it.
We did.
Because it had like a queen bed.
Yeah.
And so we took out a nightstand and built a bed frame and put a king. Remember trying to put a king mattress in the camper?
Oh, yeah.
That was.
Yeah, it was.
We just took like a regular household mattress and thought we could shove it through the door, and it was.
We did. We got it in there, but because it had a little bit of it had some water damage, a leak or something, so remodeled it a little bit, but yeah, I got a king size, a real life king size
bed. It wasn't short; it was a full king size mattress.
Yeah, even the new campers we had after that still didn't have as good of a bed in them.
Nope.
But yes, that would have been. I mean, shortly after Abby was born was around the time when we bought that camper and stuff.
It was like June, July-ish, and then we worked on it. And we may have bought it after the Forest Wood Cup. That would make more sense. It may have been, actually.
Or
I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were excited. We did a test run.
Yeah.
We went from our house to
up to the interstate.
Because we met Mom and Dad for dinner.
Yeah. But yeah, I got all that stuff ready, and then the first trip we went to,
we're excited. We've got our camper. We're going to double pull.
Yeah.
We were going to Detroit. I don't know that that's an exciting place to be.
No, and that's the last FLW tour event of the year was there. We talked about that a little bit in the last one, but yeah, that's where the last FLW tour, and this was for Stren Series that was up there. And I don't remember where the ones were. I know I did realize I'd fished the Potomac, so I was fishing the Northern Division, obviously. and those had a really good championship. That's actually in 2006. I had done well in the Strand Series championship in the fall of that year and won a pretty big, pretty good chunk of money that kind of helped finance my FLW tour start. So we roll up to Detroit. It's good because it's not terribly far from here, about 8 hours or something.
8 hours, wasn't bad.
Getting there, getting there was smooth. And when we get out of the truck, like Jenny's like, how do we do all this? What all do we do? I mean, I've done it a few times, but I ain't real good at it. But I've done it.
At all.
No.
So I'm like, well, I'll go play because it was hot. Remember how hot it was? And Abby was crying because she was hungry. And, it was kind of like we just kept pushing her like, okay, we're almost there. Let's, so
let's get there.
Pretty mad at this point. So I hop out and I'm like, okay, well, I'll get everything, I'll plug it in so we can, get the slides and get everything
Get the air turned on.
I do the little flippity thing on the...
The flippity thing is also known as the electrical box where you raise the lid on it.
Yes, raise the lid, get stung by a wasp immediately, like right on the little middle finger, right here. And I'm not like going to stop breathing allergic to wasps, but like I swell a lot, and so it's just always been like if I get stung by something, I need to take Benadryl. Benadryl knocks me out, and so but I always keep some with me just in case. And so sure enough, like I get stung, and I'm like, I think I just got stung by a wasp. And I was like, I just didn't even think about that because wasps like to make homes.
It's extremely common.
It's a very normal thing apparently.
Yeah, like. Had I went over there to open it, I would have found a rod and like flipped the thing up to try to make sure that but I didn't think to tell.
Didn't think to tell me. So
I just assumed she knew. I mean, who doesn't know that? Somebody's never set up a camera before.
The one that's stung by a wasp on her finger.
Yep.
So I'm like, I got to find Benadryl. So I'm like, I got to take something. And so I can remember he's still trying to get stuff ready, and I'm sitting in the camper and it's hot. And we've got the door open. And I'm like, just give me Abby. I can feed her before this stuff. I mean, I'm going to be drowsy in a little bit. So feed Abby sitting on the floor, just, getting all that set up. But we get everything set up. We're good.
Yeah, we got jacks down,
air's on,
unhooked.
We're good.
Sewer pipe, water hose, everything. First camping trip. A little hiccup, but hey, we're good.
It's fine. I've got my Benadryl, my finger. It swelled to like my knuckle, like it was like 3 times the size. It was pretty funny looking, but that's fine.
Yep.
And I think it was the next day. I feel like
so,
we had.
I think we stayed that night there.
And then I think they came by the next morning and they were like, "Hey, listen, you can stay on this site, but you have to move by." It was
like a tournament day. Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you serious? Like, can you not just know we have people that reserve this site for that day?" And, like, nobody had ever said anything to us. So, here we are newbies. And I'm like, well, I can't move it. Like, I can't move it while he's out fishing because...
I don't have the truck.
Well, and even if I put you in the water and had the truck, I wouldn't know what the heck I was doing. We're just really annoyed at this point because... Pretty
frustrated.
We've got to undo everything, put all the slides in. And so... But it is what it is. So we get a game plan. We're like, well, when he gets done practicing, we'll come straight in, hook up, and then we'll move to this other site. Like, surely we can do this very quickly.
So it kind of in the rush that camper, it was an older model. So the front jacks were electric, the back jacks were hand crank. Well. I ain't hooked up a camper that many times to set one up and stuff.
Like the third time.
Yeah, we go to back up to it. I need to raise the front. Well, I just start raising the front, forgetting the back jacks are down. It's like,
and we're like, it's not budging.
It won't go. I'm like, what's the problem? And if something eventually pops on the front. I'm like, that wasn't supposed to do that. And it made an odd noise. So then we like stop, kind of back up and reassess. We're like, oh. Yeah, the back jacks are down. It's like, it's fighting against itself. So we take the pressure off, get the back jacks up, get it moved. Well, then going to set it back up, the front jacks will only go so far, like one side or something.
Yeah.
It was
it's like one side, like one leg was all the way down and the other one was stuck here.
It wouldn't go any further.
That's,
yeah. So we had to jack some put some boards under it.
Boards and all kinds of stuff to try to at least get it to where it would sit level. Because if it's not level, then the slides are all messed up, or I guess there was just one slide. But It was a big slide.
Yeah, but the water don't run right everything else. So yeah, so we finally get it off of the truck, knowing now that we've broke our camper on our first trip.
Very much.
So yeah, so that's like that was the day. That was the day of the meeting, kind of thing. Was that night?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. Because then the meetings were the night before the tournament, correct? So that would have been right. So we get everything back situated. The camper was not level because I can remember it just being, we did what we could with it at that point. It was just like, whatever. Yeah. Like, let's just get the air back on and, make it through this tournament. And we were even like, I don't know what we'll do when we have to pull it home. Like,
we'll figure out how to get it.
The jacks up. We'll break them if we have, whatever.
We'll get it on the truck one way or another. We'll get it on there.
So, pretty much, we're just tired and frustrated from that day and go to bed like, normal and
wore out, but normal.
Yeah. Get Abby settled in. And then my phone rings at like 11:30 or something. Alt was already asleep. Abby usually would take a bottle like at 11. So I would feed her and then get settled in. And I immediately, I decline it because my brother, he'll randomly call me whenever, and so I'm like, he knows it's a tournament night.
Especially back then.
Yes. He knows it's a tournament night. Why is he calling? But then immediately calls back from my mom's, house number, and I'm like, I immediately think something's wrong with our niece, who's 2.5 or something at the time. And he calls, and he's like, hey, listen, they're taking Dad. He had a heart attack. So I wake God up. I'm like, we need to pray right now. Because I don't know. I don't know. So we do. And I kind of course, I'm up all night. And he does get some sleep. He's pretty good about closing his eyes and getting sleep. So, I'm up all night. And I call Mom the next morning. And she's like, he's alive, but it's not good. She's like, you need to come home. So I get Ott up, and I'm like, I get him up. And, he's like, all right, let's, we'll go home. And I'm like, no, you have to stay and fish. Points, that's all in my mind. I'm like, points equal championship equals money, and we need money to keep doing this job. And my dad would have been very angry had he survived and woke up. He would have been so mad that he threw his, kind of the rest of his year down the drain for him. And so,
was it the only person who supported the next in line to my dad, as far as who was my biggest cheerleader?
It was definitely my dad.
Jennie's dad.
Loved it. So I was like, I'll fly home with Abby. Here she is. She's 2 months old. And I'm like, it'll be fine. I called the airline, and, the lady was awesome. It was just everything was in place. It's if I can get to the airport by 8:30, I can get on a flight. It's a direct flight. And I'll be home. And, and I told Otto, I was like, I promise I'm fine. I need to take care of my mom. I was like, you finish the tournament, just whatever, finish it, get however many points you can get, and then, you can come home. So I was like, we'll figure out how we're getting everything home. So we come out, we're just in a daze trying to get everything in the truck, and Alt realizes he never charged his boat batteries, and we're fishing.
I forgot that detail. I guess in the
chaos of moving campers, we never plugged your batteries up. So we called the tournament director, because, I was just call anybody. I'll call a wife that's here, or a tournament director, just somebody will take me to the airport. I really wasn't concerned. I knew I could get a ride, and Ott was like, no, I'm taking you. I don't care if I'm late, I'm taking you all to the airport. Yeah. So, of course, we see his batteries aren't charged. We call the tournament director, and, of course, he had a co-angler as well. So his co-angler, was awesome, because obviously it's making his day late starting as well. But he's like, you do what you need to, and bring your boat. You took your boat to him, right?
I think so.
And charged batteries. Like, I think we dropped it off. He charged your batteries, and we went on to the airport. And so, I mean, at this point, I hadn't really flew a whole lot. I mean, just 3 or 4 times. Yeah. And here I am getting on a plane with a 2-month-old. So I'm, stroller, car seat, everything. Ott's helping me unload and, like, walks us in. And you can tell this part.
Yeah. The thing I remember more than anything about that morning at that point is, I didn't have the boat with me. It was just in the truck. Yeah, I forgot about dropping it off at the wherever, and they'd charge the battery some. But, take Jennie and Abby and, pull up at the front of the airport. It was Detroit airport. It's a pretty big airport. And, she's got all kinds of stuff she's got to get out and got to get in, and so it was still actually pretty strict then because it wasn't all that far past 9/11. So leaving your vehicle parked in front of the thing was definitely frowned upon. But I'm like, whatever, I'm helping Jennie and at
least get us to the, ticket counter.
Yeah, so I just leave the truck there, get all their stuff, go inside with them. I'm inside with y'all 5 minutes. I mean, it wasn't long, maybe 5 minutes. But I come out, guys sitting there, write me a ticket. He said, man, you can't, he's kind of doing his part, just doing his job. You can't leave your truck here, blah, 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 stay security, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, I'm sorry. Listen, it's been a rough day. Okay, right. I was like, okay, thank you for the ticket. He's like, did you just say thanks that I wrote you a ticket? I was like, dude, listen, it's the least of my worries today. It really is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good day. And that was what I remember about that morning as much as anything.
It's getting a thing. So, of course, I go home. I hand Abby off to Ott's mom. She pretty much kept her whenever I wasn't, with her. I mean, I had her at night, but of course I was at the hospital the whole time. And I guess I flew home.
It would have been a Thursday. I mean, I don't remember what days.
Thursday, and I think he passed away Friday night.
I think so.
And, Ott's still in Detroit, and I'm just trying to take care of my mom because they had just celebrated their 29th anniversary. So, and we just celebrated his birthday when we went and met him. So it was life changing for us.
Yeah, for us, for your mom, for your brother.
Yeah.
That's what we've got a picture from his birthday of him holding Abby. And she's a couple months old or something. That's one of my favorite pictures.
Yep. So then dealing with the aftermath of all of that, my mom lived on a farm, like 5 acres, and big farmhouse. Now she's there alone, and she's got animals, and So I told Otto, I was like, let's just. We're just going to move in with Mom. I don't know how long we're going to stay, but I'm not leaving her there by herself. So we packed Abby up, and a good friend of ours actually moved into our house, which was on his family's land. So
and which he came up to Detroit and helped me drive home.
Yeah, he and your dad
he and Dad
together.
came up.
Yeah, they drove up to help Ott because they knew Ott was exhausted and didn't want him driving 8 hours after fishing all day and just, being emotionally distraught. So they drove up and helped him bring everything back. And so we packed our stuff and moved in with my mom. And we stayed for, 2 months, I think. And then she finally told us we had to go.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, so she loved having us there. There's no doubt about it. And I don't think it was good for us to be there. It was good for her for us to be there. But she also knew that, it was never going to be normal if we stayed there.
Because I refused to, I didn't travel anymore. I didn't go. I mean, I just wasn't leaving her. I was like, Abby and I will be here, we'll help, Well, Abby didn't really help, but she was a fun baby to hold in the evening. So, she finally kind of came to us and was like, listen, you all have to get on with your lives. You can't live here forever. And she kind of, was like, listen, you need to be with your husband. You need to go and travel with him as well. And so and thankfully we were kind of in the off season, so it wasn't as bad. It wasn't like we just left and then I was on the road. We went back home, and which we only lived 20 minutes from her. It wasn't like we were that far, but we just went home and tried to, I guess really get back into the groove of our life of being there. But
one thing I didn't make a note of on here, if you want to mention it in any way, but would be, going through something like that. Neither one of us had experience. I mean, that was certainly a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and still, honestly, the biggest, thankfully, I mean, the biggest event like that, it's kind of a negative thing in our time that we've, in 18 years that we've been together. So we're really blessed in that. But that definitely changed you in some ways. And actually, you'd never dealt with any type of anxiety or anything. And that became a real thing for you after that. I mean, it did.
I'd wake up having panic attacks. It was awful. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with the anxiety part of it. Not terrible, but just different. Anybody that's ever dealt with it understands it's just random and weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, like with the panic attacks and stuff. I had never, and I felt crazy because I was just like, I don't know why I'm, feel like I'm gonna die. But thankfully, and I talked to my doctor about it, and he said that they have all kinds of stuff you can take, but I'm really kind of a stubborn person, and I don't like to take ibuprofen if I don't have to, and so I was like, no, I can do this on my own. Shocking, right? But I just kind of felt like too at the same time that having like panic attacks and anxiety and stuff, I'm like, it's because I wasn't really dealing with it either. So because my personality, I'm more of like something bad happens, I'm like, okay, that sucks, like it really sucks bad, but what can we do to like make it better or fix it, or so it's not really much of a faith driven, like, okay, I'm gonna rely on God to fix it. It's more of how can I fix it, and I'll make it better instead. And so obviously that wasn't going well. I mean, it's true. I mean, like there would even be times that like, and it's actually really true to this day, that even if I'm upset about something, whether it's if I'm upset with Ott or if like the kids are about to drive me crazy. I never do anything to get you upset. You lied. You already lost your game earlier on that. But like I would literally like be like, you have to like make me have therapy. Like I'd have to write it down and then like hand it to him. And even now, like I will make a note on my phone and I'm like, this is why I'm upset.
Yeah, here, you should read this.
Like, here, read this. I don't know, because that's just how I cope.
That's just how you process. Yeah. But
so it took a lot to get back to, like being okay. And of course, like you have that fear of like, okay, well, if I leave, what if something happens? Like, what if something happens to your dad, or, what happens to my mom or your mom, or, siblings, and, so it took a while to kind of be.
Because it would have, had we been home, it would have been terrible.
Yeah.
It would have. But being 8 hours away.
Yeah, that was.
It's like, there's just no right answer.
No, there was nothing I could do. And, and there was a lot of things that happened behind the scenes of people being upset that Ott didn't come with me. Not my mom. But, I was like, you don't live this lifestyle. Like, we made the best choice, and I literally was fine. I was upset.
No, I was ready to come home. I said, we're packing up, we'll go home, and Jennie and her mom were like, no, you're not.
No, like, at the end of the day, we still have to provide for our family, and I kind of was just like, I can't worry about you right now. Like, I cannot be worried about you. Like, you do what you need to do, and I'm going to go to mom.
And they were, I think in a lot of ways, they were concerned that if Dawn did wake up, that they would yell at them for telling me to come home.
That's 100. I'll stick to that to the day that I die. If my dad had pulled through, he would have been so mad at it. Like, we would still be hearing it now of I can't believe you came home.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
You needed to be taking care of
You
your
know
family,
better than
like.
that. Yeah. So that's no doubt that would have been his wishes in that.
Yeah. So that was kind of I'm trying to see what our notes are.
Yeah, that would have been August of 07.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of where that puts us. And really the rest of that year, between having Abby, between that, the rest of that year was a blur. It really was. We got through the year. The tournament I stayed for did end up making the Strand Championship that year, but that was, that was, the rest of that was definitely a blur. No other way to put it.
Yep.
That's
100%.
That kind of sums up that one. We'll share James 1, verse 2 and 3 again, and kind of read over that. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, whether that's bee stings or the loss of family members, but a lot of trials, broke jacks, all kinds of stuff, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. I'll be back.